Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of Grumpy Old Spurs, your non-multi-award winning podcast. Loads to talk about tonight. We've got our man in charge, plenty to discuss on him. Let's introduce the people who are here with us first. As always, the Thunder from Down Under. Davo, how are you? Have you phoned into Talk Sport this week or 5 Live?
I have talked into Talk Sport, or even phoned into Talk Sport this week. I was on with my old mate Simon Jordan, and we've got so much to discuss this week. We're probably going to forget the fact that Daniel Levy got a bonus of £5 million and Donna Cullen got a £6 million payoff. But we haven't got time for that. So, Gibbo, just one question for you: is Gascoigne going to have a crack? Have you finished reading this book yet?
No, mate, nowhere near. But I'm going on holiday in a couple of weeks, Dave, so I might get through a couple of pages of it, but we'll see. Anyway, Dave, I'm glad you've kept up with your tradition of phoning in Simon Jordan. But with us, folks, is a Cheese Room YouTuber OG. I wouldn't say this guy is a grumpy old Spur. He's usually a very positive, sensible old Spur. It's John. How are you, mate? All right. Nice to have you on for your full show debut.
You mean since the penalty shootout watch along that Dave mentioned pre-show?
Yeah.
Hello, Kerry. First of all, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm not always positive, but I like to be sensible. That's that's where I like to come from. I don't want to know why Dave's known as the Thunder from Down Under. That brings up all sorts of different things about whatever he's eating. But yeah, I'm here. It's Easter holiday, so I'm not working Wednesday night for 3 weeks, which I'm really going to enjoy. So great to be with you guys.
So, John, in true grumpy old Spurs tradition, before we get into the nitty gritty, we always ask our sort of like full guests on the show, when was the first time you can ever remember Spurs making you grumpy? I know they'll have made you grumpy countless times, but it's just our little thing. When was the first time you can ever remember being really grumpy, Adam?
I can't remember exactly my grumpiness, but I'm going to give you 2 games. I'm only supposed to give you one, but I'm going to give you 2.
Yeah.
The very first Spurs live TV game I saw Spurs on was a Sunday afternoon back in March 1986. And I was just watching, obviously in the UK, we only had 4 channels back then, just watching TV, and Spurs against Liverpool came on the TV. Happy days. And I remember we went 1-0 up in the first half. Glenn Hoddle took a corner on the left. Grobbelaar, who's always safe hands, never did anything dodgy, of course, dropped the ball, and Chris Waddle poked it home from about a yard. And then second half, unfortunately, Jan Molby scored from the edge of the box. And with about 2 minutes remaining, Ian Rush scored from the edge of the box. Now, a couple of years ago, I suddenly discovered that was actually Steve Perryman's last ever game for Tottenham. He moved to Oxford within a week or 2. So I actually got to see his last game, albeit on TV. I looked the game up yesterday, and I'll send you the video after, David, just because you'll enjoy it particularly. Well, you will and you won't. But Steve Perryman made a bit of a howler for that winning goal. He completely misjudged the flight of the bouncing ball. It went over his head, and then the ball broke, and Rush was put in for the winner. So that was the first one. But I was at that game.
I was at that game, and it was there's a load of snow on the pitch.
Yes,
and
behind the goals.
Yeah,
it was definitely cold, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was at. It was a bloody cold day, and I went to that game. Yes, remember that well. And what's your second one, John? There's 2. I like this.
Well, the second one, it's a pretty easy one. May 1987. If I say that, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Don't talk about that, please. Go on.
Hill Klein and Co. Gary Mabbott's thigh. I mean, they had a fanzine, didn't they? Coventry, called Gary Mabbott's thigh, Neil, wasn't it? I think for years.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the one. That was so much anticipation. I think I was the only Spurs fan who wasn't convinced we were going to beat them, because they'd beaten us in the league earlier in the season. So I wasn't convinced. And I think we just ran out of legs that season. We played so many games, got to the semi-final of the League Cup, obviously played like 5 million games against Arsenal, finished 3rd in the league, and it was a 42-game league season back then. They just ran out of legs, unfortunately, and Coventry did a bit of a number on us tactically on the day.
That's pretty much where it all started for me. That season, John. That Coventry loss. But also when you said Tottenham Liverpool, I knew that was, you needn't have gone on. I knew that was pretty much going to end in that way. But what were you going to say, Dave?
I've still got PTSD from that '87 Cup final. Seriously, I walked down Wembley Way after that with my cousin, going, bridesmaids, bridesmaids. We're always the bridesmaids, and that was Hoddle's last game. And I was like, because he got man up by Lloyd McGrath. I said, he can go now. He can go. What an idiot I was. But anyway, there we go.
So fickle.
Yeah, I am so fickle. Here I am at 6:37 a.m. in the morning, being fickle.
Fickle Tottenham fans. Anyway, right, Tudor's gone. Should we have a little? Should we just give our opinion on Tadpole Tudor's short reign? I wasn't keen on the appointment when it was made, but when all said and done, and he gets announced, you think, look, he's done this type of thing before. I'm not bothered that he doesn't know the Premier League, but if he can get into him, he seems a decent bloke, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Let's get behind him. Let's see what he can do. He didn't do a fucking fat lot. John, opinions on Tudor?
I did a Cheeser and Pod with Brendan, I think the day he was appointed, and I'd seen the video that Teddy Sheringham had done saying how his concerns about lack of Premier League experience. And that was my main concern, really. He was known to go in and be a bit of a firefighter and turn teams around, but normally that was teams that were trying to get into Europe, not ones that are down the bottom, bereft of confidence. I quite liked the way he was in press conferences. He didn't take any crap from the journalists, and I was, after the Palace game, I was a bit, oh God, and then obviously Atletico Madrid debacle. But then he changed it for Liverpool and got a good performance. And but again, I said I did the pod the night after the Liverpool game, and I said, we can't play the same way against Forest because those centre-backs will lap up those long balls in the physical game. Atletico Madrid at home was a good performance and, played Xavi in the 10. And you thought, okay, maybe he'll do this. And he changed it back to going to the sort of more 4-4-2. And we played all right in that first half, but we had no cutting edge. And once that goal went in, the game was lost, really. And he was the wrong appointment, ultimately. But if they wanted De Zerbi, which they're sort of suggesting they did now, he had just left Marseille. He was never going to join us at that point. So they had to find a different option. And Tudor was obviously one of the ones that Paratici had been mooting a while ago. But you just look at the way the players spoke in interviews. No one was saying, yeah, we're really enjoying it, or he's a good man. There was no positivity around him. And you just got the vibes that he tried shouting at them, which didn't work because it just peed them off. And it was never going to, unfortunately, it was never going to work.
Yeah, it just... Dave, obviously unfortunate about his dad, but the writing was on the wall. I think if it hadn't have been, if like his old man hadn't passed away during that game, he'd have been gone literally either that night or the Monday. But it never really worked, did it, Dave? I know it was never permanent, but it never even felt sort of like the amount. I mean, once again, I don't know your opinion. Probably should have gone after Palace, maybe. Did we wait too long, like we did with Frank? Obviously, we waited too long when we got rid of Frank. Did we do the same with Tudor? Or were we sort of stuck where we had to do it? And, we waited to the ideal time, the 3-week break. But your opinion on Tudor, the Tudor scenario?
Well, I think it's great timing that we've delayed it a little bit to appoint De Zerbi this week, which is the week the accounts have come out. So that's good work by the communication team once again. But we're not going to talk accounts tonight. I promise you. I promise you. John did send me the accounts on the PDF and said, happy with it. I haven't had time, sorry, to read the accounts. But I look forward to
bedtime reading, Dave. I was thinking, really, just you.
My Easter weekend reading.
You fucking will as well.
Yeah, no, I know I will. Well, I will, yes. What are my thoughts? Well, one, the thing you say about Paratici, he was never good at hiring managers, interim or otherwise. That's number one. And Paratici pushed for him apparently back in November, December, and wanted Frank to go. So we did a great slide recently on the change management at Tottenham, along the fact that Paratici says, I want him, and Frank gone. Then Paratici goes, then Frank goes, then Tudor comes in, right? So there we go. What's that? De Zerbi.
Yeah.
Is that a live? Hang on, are we instantly reacting?
I can't. Yeah, this is. I can't. Oh, don't want
That's
to
a
keep going
car.
through my. Don't want to go through my Twitter feed. Yeah, that was.
It's
That is a
live.
picture. I can't get it on Google Slides, Dave.
That's
You know
fine.
what I'm like with technology.
So he's now been officially unveiled.
Yes.
We'll get onto him very, very shortly.
Yeah.
Look, I think that the Liverpool game, I think he had basically 11 players to pick from. And basically, we also had look, the Liverpool and Atletico game, I called it, we had a twiglet of momentum to cling on to in an ocean of shit, which is that's when Gibbo organised the rally before the Forest game. Did you know that John Gibbo organised all that?
Gibbo sorted it all out.
He did. And then we went into Forest game as a no lose 6-pointer. He made baffling substitutions. And I normally don't have a problem with managers coming in with no Premier League experience because they've all done that, right? They've all done that.
Oh, yep.
This is the first time Danny's watched this ever, just because of you, John.
Oh, hello, Dan.
Hopefully he'll stay. So my point about Tudor is this: wrong man, wrong time,
wrong place.
And he will go down in the hall when the museum opens. Once I've taken over the club and shut down the go-kart track, and the museum opens.
Come on, Dave! Not tonight, please.
We'll have the managerial.
You know the go-kart track makes money, Dave.
Does it? Good. The managerial Hall of Fame, that special corridor, will have Stellini, Santini, and Tudor. So we wish him the very best of luck.
Yeah.
Let's see if this works, lads. Oh, I've taken it down. Hold on. No, hold on. I've lost the tab. Give me a second. I can get the Twitter thing up for you. You keep talking.
Yeah. So
Blimey.
Basically,
John's introducing some good tech here, but go on.
Yeah, don't people start expecting this off us, John? If you're gonna start reacting live to stuff and putting stuff up, you're putting us in a.
Here we go.
John.
Right. Share screen. Does this work?
Hang on.
Share.
Hello.
That worked or not?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's there.
Can you see it?
I can add it to the stage.
Add it to.
There we
you go. Look, there he is in all his glory.
There he is.
He looks really happy, doesn't he? Is that the fakest smile ever?
That's happy. That's happy for me.
I mean, this
is grumpy old Spurs. That's happy for us.
Bloody
He'd fit in well, wouldn't he?
Advertising betting all over him. Another reason to not like the bloke, for God's sake.
Is he advertising?
He just covered that up. Yeah, bet MGM in it all over his.
I'm not sure he's got a choice, Gibbo. I think he has to do that. I think he has to put it on. It's contractual.
Yeah, I know, mate. I know. Yeah. So anyway, now we've seen the picture of him. Now he's been unveiled as the next Spurs manager.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Obviously, with De Zerbi, there is plenty to discuss. As there are with Spurs, he should fit in just the tickety boo. But Dave, first of all, I think we sort of said, look, we've got loads to discuss about him. We want to discuss the footballing side, really. But obviously, a quick sort of, you've got some bits you've got up about, he's made some comments that have angered people, or some people don't care, or whatever. What are your thoughts on it, Dave? Because obviously you've got on those types of things, because I know you like to talk about non-footballing things at Tottenham quite a bit. So let's let you have the stage for non-footballing stuff around De Zerbi to start off with.
Just to make it clear, I like talking about the football thing as well.
Yeah, I know you do.
So there's been a lot of commentary about this, okay? And there's a few things I want to say here. One is that there's a lot of people who've come out, and we'll get to them in a minute, saying that De Zerbi made a statement. De Zerbi commented. So the context of this is that he got a question, which was from the British media last year. This is the first time that Greenwood has played an English team since he moved away from England, and we don't see much of him in the UK. Can you give us an idea how his life is developing? How are things for him off the pitch since he moved? That came from a British journalist, right, in a press conference. And what De Zerbi said is, all I can see is that Mason seems a good lad. He paid in a strong way for what happened, and he has probably found the right environment for him, which gave him affection and held out its hand to him. He's behaved well since he's been here. He's introverted, rather closed character, but I met his family and they're good people. When I look at him as a person, I feel sad for what happened for him in his life without getting into the details, because the people I know here is very different to the one that's been described, especially in England, right? So this, from a context point of view, and this is important, he's not come out to Zerbi and said, unprompted, talking about Mason Greenwood. He was asked a question in a press conference, right? And so we'll get onto the reactions in a minute. And so these are some of the reactions that we've had. We've had women of the lane have said De Zerbi's comments raised serious questions about judgment and leadership. The whole group, whose aim is to eradicate sexism, misogyny in football, said this is not an appointment Tottenham Hotspur should make. Proud Lily Whites, when someone in that position publicly defends a player like Mason Greenwood and frames it in a way that downplays the seriousness of what happened, it matters not just in isolation, but what it signals. Spurs reach, regardless of intent, framing of this nature risks normalising harmful attitudes. And then I will get on to the trust and then we'll talk about it. So the trust released a statement saying that his comments were unnecessary, ill-judged and deeply, I think, offensive. A significant number of supporters, without doubt, would have left victims of male violence alarmed. We believe these statements left unchecked will create a divide among supporters when we all need to be pulling together. And then they go on to say our preference would have been for a short-term appointment of an individual and then an opportunity to attract a wide range of potential applicants with a track record of success in the summer. So these are the things, right? Now, I'll start with my opinion and obviously we'll go around. Number one, I don't want to see Mason Greenwood in a Tottenham shirt. Okay? That's number one. The second thing that I think I want to contextualize on this as well is that there's 3 incidents of this recently that we've seen. So Benjamin Mendy was charged with his offences. His last game for City was against us. Remember that first game of the season after COVID and Sonny scored? They suspended him and then he went to court twice, I think, and found not guilty. Now, whatever you think of Mendy's behaviour, and we've read the stuff, it's not great. He was found not guilty. Mendy sued Man City and I think he won for unfair decision.
Yeah, he did.
Paid him.
Right. Next one.
I was sorry, Dave. I was told on that a while before it came out. We shouldn't be getting into it. I was told why that wasn't going to get found, what was going to happen there. I've got a good mate of mine is a big City fan, been going to years, and he knows some people up there. And I was told about that a while before, which is unimportant, really.
Yeah, the second one is Thomas Partey, right? Now, a lot of people this week have been saying many things about Vinay. He's a rape apologist and this, that, and the other, and he's doing it again. Thomas Partey was not charged, I don't think, until after his contract had finished or towards the end of his contract at Arsenal, right? So the club obviously knew about the allegations, but again, they were allegations. And Thomas Partey, again, whatever you may think of him and whatever the reports are, has still not gone to court. So we don't know if he's guilty or he's not guilty, right? And then you move on to Greenwood. What we saw was disgusting. And as I said, I don't want him in a Tottenham shirt, right? But for whatever reason, the case was withdrawn. He wasn't convicted. United made a call on him. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe was making noises about him playing for United again. And then the fan group said no. And so now he's gone to Marseille, right? And De Zerbi gets asked that question. And that's what happened. So I think the thing for me about all of this is that I'm in a situation where I'm looking at it and going, Tottenham have put on Chris Brown concerts over the summer. I don't remember any fan group making a statement about that. Tottenham promote, the co-promoter of the boxing is Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and we know what their attitudes towards women. I don't see any comment about that. And there are lots of different examples of this. Now, from my point of view, the trust, who I've got a lot of time for, to do a lot of good work, but I think they've overstepped the mark. And those comments, and then there's a comment about we should wait until get an interim and wait till the summer. That's not the trust's job at all to make comments like that. So I totally understand for people. Domestic violence obviously is an appalling thing.
Big no-no.
Big no-no. But the fact of the matter is he was asked a question in a press conference and he answered it. His language may have been a bit clumsy, but you look at someone like Thomas Tuchel when he was Chelsea manager, gets asked questions about the Ukraine war and Abramovich, right? And the challenge that you have, and the problem that I have with these managers, is they get put in press conferences. They're the only representative of the club, and they're asked all manner of things. And they are football people first and foremost. So, to my mind, on this subject, I do not have a problem in this area. And we'll get onto the football in a minute. I don't have a problem with us appointing De Zerbi. And I think the Spurs Reach and all these groups have a pick and mix of outrage to suit their agenda of what they want to be outraged about. And that's how I see it. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, well said, Dave. John, rape apologist, I find people getting called that a bit harsh, a bit sort of out of order. Your opinion on it, John? Let us know, mate.
I think Dave's spoken pretty well about it. Yeah. It is very difficult. De Zerbi could have batted it away a little bit, maybe could have handled it slightly better at the time. I mean, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, we don't want to sign Greenwood." They're taking this aside, how often do managers move and the player goes with them? It's not that very often. So why everyone's convinced we're going to try and sign Greenwood in the summer is a little bit baffling. I think they're just putting 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
Kate from Kate and Jim YouTube channel. Kate's a lovely girl. She went on. She's quite often on Jordan and White and Jordan. She was on there today, and she spoke very well about this, about someone herself who suffered from domestic abuse.
She rang in.
They ring her, to be honest.
I think I heard her. She was very good.
Yeah. Kate is very good, and Kate said that she believes in second chances and thinks people. And again, mentioned as you said, it wasn't De Zerbi, it was Mason Greenwood. So I mean, interesting. I know a few people who are members of the trust, and they're not happy that they were not consulted at all about this statement. Some of them say actually they agree with the sentiments, but they're annoyed about the way it's done. I've met Rachel a few times in the trust, and have found her very pleasant, very intelligent, and very thoughtful as well. So I was a little bit surprised that they came out so quickly with this. Obviously, this De Zerbi thing's been brewing for a week or so, hasn't it? So they may have had it in mind, but I mean, I agree with the sentiments. Violence against men, women, and should not be acceptable in any way. And that Mason Greenwood audio track was horrendous, and I never want to see him playing in England again, if I'm honest. Let him go and play out in France. Stay there, as far as I'm concerned. But it wasn't De Zerbi who did it. He was protecting his player. Like I said, he may have not necessarily said the right thing. If he'd been prepared for it, he might have come up with a different answer. But I'd be really interested. I mean, I put a tweet out earlier saying, let's play bingo for his first press conference, because Matt Law will ask the question, won't he, about Greenwood? And then someone responded and said, well, I'm sure the press officer will stop that. I'm not sure the press officer will be able to. I don't know what you think.
I think they'll be primed for it, John. I think I've heard on some of the pods and other bits and pieces, he's going to get asked about it. I should imagine it's come up already when he was about to take another job in this country. I don't need to really add any more to it. You guys have nailed that perfectly. I'll just go about it in my own clumsy way. And I think what you guys have both said is perfect. So for me, let's just move on to the stuff that we all really should only care about. That's the football. Not, see what I mean, clumsy? I mean, not, we should care about the shit stuff and say it's a big no-no. But, football, that's what we want to see. That's what we want to be talking about. New manager, Roberto De Zerbi, 5-year contract. For me, and I've said this in a few more, I've been sort of like, not champion for him, but I've said for a while his name's been linked with the job, that I think a good appointment. I know a lot of people want Pochettino. I loved Pochettino. I still love him when I see his interviews and stuff, but I've never been a massive fan of sort of going back. I don't think it ever works. I know people, Liverpool fans, who said the same when, Dalglish went back there and Keegan went back to Newcastle and stuff like that. And it never works. And I always think if you can get something fresh and you can sort of go again and we can do something different, let's do that. So I think his teams play good football. I thought Brighton were a good team to watch. Whenever I've seen bits of Marseille, I think they've been good to watch. He obviously had the main man over in Marseille with him, Dave, and got a tune out of him. But me personally, I'm excited about, we've got to get through these 7 games, and however we do that, that is all that matters. 7 games. That's all we've got to do is get through those. But I'm quite excited, fingers crossed, that we get through these 7 games and stay up. And then whatever happens, even if he's here 18 months and we stay up, and when he leaves in 18 months, we are in a much better position than we are now, which isn't hard. We're higher up the table, challenging for Europe, playing a different brand of football, playing on the front foot, and look like we can push on. That'll do. But I'm excited to see what he can do. Get new players in, get rid of a load of players. Not fire into players, fire players up. I like a bit of passion on the sideline. I quite like prickly characters. Like when Conte left, I was a bit like, he wants to go. We need to do that change now because it's doing nothing for us. But before then, when he was happy to be there, I like that on the sideline. I like Mourinho, but when it was time for him to go, it was time for him to go. But I quite like that. I think I find a lot of football quite bland, and the personalities, and they're just saying the same things, and their teams just pass sideways. And there's, like when we watched Liverpool play us, Liverpool fans aren't happy with Slot, and they just seem like they're just going through the motions. I'm quite looking forward to it. There'll be fireworks. We always have plenty to talk about. He's going to give us more to talk about, and I'm hoping that we're going to be talking about better football longer term. John, what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure he's got enough to turn us around this season. It'll be interesting. If he goes in the way he did at Brighton, we're going down, probably. Yeah. Because it took him 5 games to get a win, and they did smash Chelsea 4-1, which would be quite enjoyable if we went to Stamford Bridge and got the points. But I think he's going to have to come with a different mindset. Because the game in England has changed. Teams play a different style now. It's very much changed. It'll be interesting to see how he comes in and what he does. He's going to have to get the players on side. If Nesta comes in as well, that's a hell of a coup if we keep them both long term, because I think defensively hopefully help us quite a lot. Obviously, I think a lot of us expecting Romero and Van der Ven to potentially go this summer if we stay up or go down. But I think most of his work's going to be done during pre-season. It's just a case of can he get the players up? They need. I know a lot of people were going for Redknapp, and I would never have said Redknapp, but the arm around the shoulder sort of thing is what they need. You remember, and again, I would never advocate getting Sherwood back, especially the amount he was selling himself on Sky. But what he did with Adebayor when he came in for AVB, Adebayor was in the wilderness, and he turned Adebayor. He just put his arm around him, didn't he? He said, "You're a good player, go and play." And Adebayor actually started playing for the rest of that season. You've got to find a way to get the players playing. Some players need a kick up the arse. Some players need a cuddle, and they just need to be told they're the best player. But you've got to have a system. You've got to work on it. Now, he's lucky he's got players coming back. Bergvall played for Sweden last night. Well done, Sweden, going to the World Cup. Well done, Graham Potter, the much maligned Graham Potter. Yeah. And although apparently Kulu's aiming for the World Cup.
Is he doing a Darren Anderson?
It looks like he's doing Darren. He's going to go see Dave Butler to go and get himself fit away from the Spurs medical team.
Good pre-season for us. It'll be for him.
Yeah,
that's what we said about Anderson.
But John, like what I was saying about, I know there's this,
David Clark's coming up.
I know there's that video of De Zerbi with a player, which isn't a good look. I think that happens
shouting at a player in training. Oh no!
If you never, if we sort of listen to what I said, I was like, I think he might be able to do that, John. I think he'll be able to, like I said, not fire into them. I think he'll be able to fire them up, sort of like by putting his arm around them that way. If you get what I mean, I think he will. I think because he knows that's what he's got to do. He knows he's got 7 games, so I don't think he's going to go in and start going, "This is how we've got to play. This is what we've got to do." I think he's probably sensible enough to say, "I need to get them playing," and I think he has sort of got that infectious personality. It seems. I don't know him, obviously. But I do think when you see him in some of these videos and the players run over to him and they score because he's as enthusiastic as them when they're scoring goals and stuff like that. I think he will be able to do that. But I agree with you, whether the players can perform out there, whether he does it or not, That's the big thing. It's a lot of it's going to, even though we've got him in, a lot of it's still going to be on the players.
I think that's a great question from Kerry. Have we got the players with the intelligence to understand him? So I'm kind of hoping that De Zerbi takes the view that he's not going to impose his playing style on this group for the 7 games. We've got 7 cup finals. I still think we're down, and I've felt that way since West Ham, to be honest. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, when I read stuff around, some players had dinner this week and were very excited about him joining, and some of the players are liking him on Instagram and all this bollocks, right? At the end of the day, we have got a poor squad with players who think they're better than they are, and some of whom are just technically not good enough, right? So although it's quite amusing that De Zerbi's style is very much, he likes playing out from the back, and etc., and seeing him implement that with Vicario, that's not going to happen this season, I hope. He's just got to get us through the 7 games. The fact of the matter is this, the way I'm looking at it is, as far as I'm aware, the only permanent manager out there and hiring a permanent manager was De Zerbi, right? Yeah. And so quite clearly they've gone back to him with a shitload more cash. They've insisted that there's no relegation clause in there, and they're going to give him a huge bonus if he stays. Well, that's economic sense, because if we stay up, he gets a massive bonus. Well, that's economic sense, because we'll get all the money out of the Premier League, right? So that makes sense that he does that. And then I think he's, you know, if we go down, he'll have to stay. The fact of the matter is this, is that people say he's combustible and he doesn't last more than 2 years anywhere. Well, when's the last time we had a manager stay more than 2 years? Was Poch.
Poch,
right? Yeah. So that's just the way it goes, right? So I'm pleased. I'm not massively excited. I'm pleased we've got him. I just, as always, with the top level research I do for this show, Gibbo, here's some technical analysis. I spoke to my mate Dave, who's a massive Brighton fan.
Yeah.
He says, De Zerbi looking like it could be on. I said, he's more toxic than Brittany, lol. But he said, the comment is probably not what you need, but he was absolutely brilliant to watch. I kept saying to the boys, this is the best it's ever been, and I doubt we'll ever see it again. But then again, he rated Basuma, Dave, which I pointed out to him. So the Brighton, I think with Brighton, he got them into Europe for the first time in their first season. He got them to 6th, which for Brighton is pretty good. But then the next season was a familiar tale. They didn't have a big enough squad to do Europa in the league, and they sank in the league, and he got shitty about it, and off he went, right? I mean, they interviewed Paul Barber on TalkSport this week, and Paul Barber, ex-Tottenham man, I'd love to see him back at the club. But he was very, very diplomatic. He said he was great, really good. He is a difficult character. I can't see him working with Langer, and I can't see him working with Vinay. And I'm hoping that Langer and Vinay are the ones that go, and he's the one that stays.
But Dave, people like, I can't imagine Klopp, people like Klopp, people like Pep. I bet they're demanding of their board.
Yeah.
I bet they're demanding of all the people around them. It's just how tolerant the people who they're working for, and obviously what they're going to get back from them. But like John, I think he'll go in, won't he? He's got Kinski in goal now. Obviously, Madrid aside, better with his feet on the better with the ball at his feet. But he's likely just going to go Porro, Udogie, Romero, Van der Ven, 2 midfielders who he feels are better on the ball and being able to get the ball and spread it around. The likelihood is, I think you'll probably see Simmons in the 10 now. Then he'll go. Then Kudus when he's sort of fit. Maybe Tau out on the left, and then Solanke or Richarlison up front. But I think he'll probably simplify it in terms of that, and he'll just try and get them playing attacking football. Pretty much, John, won't he? What else can he do?
Well, obviously, Tell is a question mark. Sarr got a shoulder injury, I think, the other day in international duty, which may not be the worst thing because he's probably our worst passing midfielder.
Yeah,
I mean, he's good for legs. He's good up and down.
He's not a passing midfielder. He's just shit.
Not at all. So it's going to be Gray +1, isn't it? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Gallagher hasn't really done anything, has he? Whether you go Gray and Paulinho, I don't know. Paulinho again isn't the best passer of the ball, but he is a great defensive cover. And then that would allow Xavi to play that 10 role, as you say. Kudus hopefully is back. I did see somebody panic on WhatsApp this morning because someone had said he's out for the season, and we had to point out it was the 1st of April or something. Yeah. And I mean, Kudus might take a couple of games to get there. It'd be nice to see. We'll probably see some Instagram pictures next week of training, won't we? Whether he's actually with the first team or not. I mean, who have we even been playing on the right? Oh, yeah, Porro's been playing right wing. Which is a bit, I can sort of see that, but it depends on how he's going to play. If he's going to play maybe the 4-2-3-1, or he might look at it. I think Solanke, I thought for England looked all right the other night. He didn't get any service, but he certainly looked better than he had for Spurs. Now, whether Solanke's struggling in the front two, I don't know. But Richarlison, as much as he frustrates all of us, he gets goals.
Yeah. Solanke is technically better, though, isn't he? Like, Welbeck would have played up front for him. And I just look at it and I think if you've got a choice of Porro or Spence at right back, I think he'll go with Porro just because he's technically better on the ball. That's how I look at it. That's the type of players I think he'll be looking at and how he'll be looking at playing. I don't think he'll play Spence at left back.
I was at the 4-2 game at the Amex just after Christmas a couple of years ago with James when he decided to wear a red top and not think about that and stood in the away ends. But anyway, and they played Pedro and Welbeck up front. They played two up front. Pretty much was a 4-4-2, I seem to remember. And they, we were 4-0 down. And then we had, Richarlison hit the post and he had 2 goals disallowed for offside, but they absolutely just steamrolled. They just cut through us. I know part of that was Ange's system, but they just kept cutting through us and they were amazing. And I'd like to think if De Zerbi is here next season and it doesn't all go wrong over the summer, that he can build us into a really good team, but it's going to take time.
So, like, for me, in the greatest respect, I don't know what you think, Dave, that when we talk about Richarlison is a better goal scorer. I don't think he's going to want players where the ball's fucking bouncing off them left, right, and centre. Like blokes who couldn't trap a bag of cement. I do not. That's how I see it. Richarlison does score goals, but mate, his first touch, his second touch has to be a tackle. Do you know what I mean? And that is the problem with him. So I think he's probably going to want to try and play a bit more football. That's why I'm talking about those players. And like Gallagher hasn't lifted up any trees. You're right. So it's like you pick Gray, don't you? And then he's going to be looking in training and thinking, what am I going to do? When we look at the midfielders that Brighton have and they had under him and that they've moved on, technically it's like chalk and cheese, isn't it, to what we've got in the middle of the park? So it is just a case of we've got to get through these 7 games, haven't we? Somehow, by hook or by crook, he has got to get results in the next 7 games. We need a proper manager bounce now. The manager bounce we should have had before, we have got to have that now. We just haven't got time. We used up most of our free hits under Ange when we were going for the Europa League. We started having a few more free hits under Tudor. We ain't got no more free hits. Those cards have all been used up. It is results now that there is no room for error.
Gibbo, before I answer that, I just want to point out we've got 77 people viewing us live, which is probably.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, just John, isn't it? I mean,
it's probably because there's nothing else on, as Daddy said.
No, we had Connor on last week, and he left, but he had to go halfway somewhere else. But our numbers kept up quite nicely. But John, I mean, you're on this week, mate, and there you go. And if Kate is in the chat, who rang into TalkSport, I thought your phone call was excellent.
Imagine if we had John and Connor on with us, Dave. I reckon we'd be in 100.
Maybe if we had John and Connor on and we're not on it, Gibbo, that might.
That would definitely do it. And we'd be 600 views.
Just get Connor and Billy on. Just hijack their channel. Get them on here.
That will be the answer.
Billy ain't got time to come on our show.
It's the only show he's not been on. Right, so back onto this. What I would like to say with De Zerbi and the midfield. Now, I know, listen, we've moaned about the team throughout. I think a midfield, if you had Paulinho and if you had Gray or Bergvall, and please, God, can Bergvall play in his right position for once this season? Even before the Forest game, I said in the spaces, I'm looking forward to seeing Bergvall come play in a number 8. What does he do? Sticks in right midfield, right?
So I want to see
who? Bergvall plays right midfield?
I think he has been.
Yeah, well, that's Graham Potter, isn't it?
Yeah,
right.
But he's playing right wing some games and right midfield. He was definitely right midfield when he came on that in Forest.
So
he was too narrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have Paulinho at 6. I'd have Gray or Bergvall at 8, and then you got Xavi Simons at 10, right?
Yeah.
We're going to play 4 at the back. Thank God for that. And then up top, you've got, well, there's Solanke, there's Tell, who else? And Richarlison.
Moani.
Moani, now that Tudor's gone, you won't see Moani ever again. That'll be it. Because he's been very disappointing, I think.
Yeah, really, probably, honestly, I actually think Timo Werner would have been more useful this season, and that takes some doing.
Steady. And that is a shame, because what I'd seen of Moani previously, especially for his country, I thought we got once we get him fit, decent player.
Yeah.
But contributed nowhere near enough.
No, he's been shite, so he can go. I still think he's better than Timo Werner, though. Sorry.
Yeah, he ain't that bad.
Timo Werner, when he was one-on-one, do you remember when he was one-on-one and goal up at Old Trafford? You just knew that he wasn't going to score.
Oh, right? Every time he was 1-on-1, he wasn't going to score.
He was never going to score. Whenever
he was one-on-one, you always remember Sissoko going one-on-one with at Anfield, bearing down on goal with Van Dijk.
Yeah.
That's how you felt with, and Timo Werner was meant to be a forward, but you'd back Sissoko to score more, wouldn't you, in those scenarios?
Yes.
And I mean, he was killing pigeons on the top of the stand at Anfield.
He was indeed. Now, we do have a comment here, which we may or may not want to comment on. So, will Sandro be involved?
Firstly, Kerry, I'm going to say that I believe Bren's doing a pod with him tonight, I think. So he is very hopeful of being involved. I know that. And he has been in communication with De Zerbi and is planning to meet De Zerbi.
Bren or Sandro?
Bren wants to be there, as the official small glass drinking buddy. Sandro has been in contact with De Zerbi. Having played for him, he was his captain when De Zerbi was at Benevento in Serie A. And when he was doing his UEFA B license, De Zerbi let him come down to Brighton and do a lot of the on-site work with Brighton. And he's been scouting for Brighton for a couple of years since doing these UEFA B license down there. So him and De Zerbi have got a very good relationship. So there's a fair chance, given his Tottenham role. What I don't know is what the situation with Sandro and work permit is. I don't know whether he's got some residency here because from when he played, because he's over here a lot, and obviously he's a legend at the club. I don't really know how it works on that side of it.
I remember him having a shit Wi-Fi. Wasn't he on the cheese room once and his Wi-Fi was shit? Has he fixed that?
He was in his holiday home. Yeah, in his holiday home.
That's right.
He's got 2 houses. He lives in Lisbon, but he's also got another house somewhere else in Portugal. And he was in his holiday home, and it was terrible. I think that's the game I outed him as actually retiring before he officially retired.
So out of the three of us, who has met Sandro? Is it you, John?
I've met him.
Hey,
I've met him as well.
I met him at the Worcester. He was at the Worcester Spurs. Had an evening with Sandro, and I told Brendan, and Brendan was like, "Oh, I'll tell him one of our guys is there." So I had a chat with him there. Probably not as long as John, because he was doing like an evening thing, and I sort of got there and, I know Brent, Brent, I'm on that, and we just had a 5-10 minute chat. And that, but mate, he was brilliant. The evening he did for us, he was brilliant. He's a really good personality, funny guy. Yeah.
Did he tell you the Giovanni De Santa story and the balcony?
No, he didn't tell us that.
I can't say it here, unfortunately, because it. But Flav from the Fighting Cock was hosting the night, and Flav said, "Right, at this point, guys, you've got to put your phones away. No one's allowed to record this." And there was 2 or 3 stories that came out that weren't allowed to be public.
Right,
and there was one about De Santos. But he was great. We nothing. Me, myself, Seb, Franco, and Caller ended up in 5 guys in Clapham at 11:30 at night with him. So it was quite random, and it was a good night.
There you go.
We could have an insider, John. We could have access to ITK. But you talk about Sandro getting a work permit. Wasn't there talk about De Zerbi getting a woke permit on the social media?
Very good. Very good.
There was, mate. Did you see that? That was right up my street then, James.
David Clark, the answer is no, he's not playing for He only played that one FA Cup game for the non-league team, didn't he? That was it. He's very much retired.
So here's another thing that I've seen today. I don't know if this is true. This is reported by Gazzetta dello Sport. So I don't know the validity of this report, or I don't know what. But they're basically saying that we've got him in, and his like remit will stretch sort of like far beyond the pitch. They're going to say he's going to have a strong say in transfers and player recruitment, central figure in shaping the club's wider sporting direction.
What does that mean?
He's got a level of influence, was a key condition of him signing. And he's expected to. This is the bit I can't believe. This is the bit that says it could be a load of bollocks. Expected to secure exactly the players he wants for squad building. So he's
right.
If he believes that, he's coming to top. He can't be that fucking stupid. But that's.
Can we just go back to what you say? Say that again. He has got influence on the wider sporting.
Yeah, so he's going to be a central figure in the shaping of the club's wider sporting direction.
Do you mean this?
Yes, that's it.
Hey,
Yeah, you've been waiting. That when that comment come on, I saw the bulb go off on your head, Dave, above your head.
So what's going on what's going on with this, Gibbo?
It's a bit American football, mate.
And who's that blonde lady?
Phoebe, somebody, mate. I've told you. Have I not told you this before, Dave? Is this?
There's De Zerbi looking at the wider sport. Sorry, I had to do that. Anyway,
yeah.
So call me cynical, which I am. Have we not heard this all before? Every time. He's only going to get players he wants. He's going to be involved in the wider sport. Yeah. I've never heard the wider sporting activities. Maybe he's doing the go-kart roster. Who knows?
Oh, Dave.
Yeah. But we've heard this all before. And the only way this is going to work, and I'll say it again, let's hope obviously we all hope he keeps us up. And then Vinay and Langer go. At least Langer has to go.
Langer's got to go.
But John, Lang made a said something, didn't he? Obviously, when it was said that we got De Zerbi, there was some sort of written communication from him about us getting him. I mean, John, I don't know what you think about those. Like, obviously, whether that's just reported and they're saying that's what he's been told, like just to get him through the door or whatever. Can you see that happening? Can you see all of those things happening, or can you see that that's what he sort of has been offered a bigger say on how this thing's going to be at Spurs?
Well, supposedly they've been looking for a second sporting director. So maybe De Zerbi said, I want to do some of that role as part of my role. Maybe that's part of the negotiation. Obviously, it took a week or so to get the deal done, and they're paying him a hell of a lot of money. Maybe they think, well, we'll save a bit of money on the sporting director if he's going to take some of that role on. Poch always did quite a lot, didn't he? And Jesus Perez did quite a lot of the sports science side of sporting director, which is why we didn't know. Whereas the sporting director then was mainly about transfers. It is quite a broad job, which is, I sort of get the idea of having two if it's a split role. Unfortunately, Langer and Paratici were never going to work together because they've got different views on transfers. And I'd really like Langer to go as much as anything, because I keep hearing people call him Lange.
Oh,
it really drives me nuts.
He's got to go. John, He's got to
Langer.
go.
Yeah, he's got to go because it just isn't working. I was listening to the Football Boardroom podcast earlier while walking the dog with Henry
Purslow
and Christian Purslow. Obviously, he was the chief exec at Villa. So he was talking about Langer, and he was saying he will have been in contact with De Zerbi even from when he left Marseille. Back then, he would have kept in contact with him the whole time because he said, I know how Langer works. He said he would have been there the whole time, just keeping him on the end of the phone occasionally to make sure he'd still be interested.
I know how Langer works. That's why I got Monchi in to replace him.
That wasn't him. That was very much Emery, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was Emery's man. Emery wanted him.
But what I liked about Langer's statement was that apparently De Zerbi was our number one choice in the summer.
This summer coming, not last summer.
Yeah.
No, it was last summer. It was his number one choice.
Well, some people have said that, so I don't know if that's. I think, like, obviously, John, we've spoken our group before, and I thought that it was just all systems Poch. Got to get Poch. Whatever we do, we've got to make sure that we get Poch and that we stay in the league to get Poch in the summer. But apparently now, obviously, whether it's just because it's happened, but De Zerbi was the leading contender for some time. True, false? What do you think?
I mean, I know Paratici liked him, didn't he?
Yeah.
So was pushing him, but I don't know. We're never going to exactly know these things, are we? But the most important thing is he's here now. But I think you're right that when you get to the end of the season, you look at, even if we stay up, we're going to finish 15th, 16th. It's a disastrous season. And
Yeah.
someone
Are you
has to carry
saying
the
we're not
camp
gonna, we've got no European football next season if we stay up? Is that what you're saying?
I believe that is how it works, mate. Yeah.
You know, what are we going to do?
Well, it'll actually give whoever the manager is next season time to work with the squad.
Yeah.
We'll have all
and
those
that's what
nice
he
things. You
needs.
look at Man United this season. I know they've obviously sacked the manager, but not having midweek games means you can improve. And even Angie's first season, he had time to work with them because he didn't have any European football. It does. It helps.
Yeah, but Gibbo hated Ange and wanted him out.
Yeah, I was right.
Look what you did. Look what you did, Gibbo. We're now fighting relegation because Ange left.
Mate, we didn't fight relegation last year because the 3 teams were shit. But I'm not getting into that. This and Angie's like well in the past. We're talking De Zerbi. So like John, but John's right with obviously he that especially a guy like him, from what we sort of know and what we think we know, the team will benefit from if we're trying to look at positives. I think the size of our club, where we expect us to, well, like we've said before, people say we're entitled in that. I just expect us to be challenging for European football at least every season and play in some form. I know you, Dave, shit all over the conference, but if we'd have gotten that this season, I'd have been happy. You could have played less, we could have we could have worked it maybe to get to a point where you can win another trophy. But yeah, I just expect us to be playing European football. And if he hasn't got that next season and he's going to have, I think there's going to be not a big summer. I'm not saying big summer, Dave. I'm not using the old bingo, big summer. But I think there will be a coming and going of players. I think there will be a fairly decent sized churn to get players that can help him implement his system. And that will only benefit a coach like him and the players he's got.
Well, if you think of a timeline of it, so let's say he keeps us up, right? The next season he's got, as you said, he doesn't have to have a massive squad because we'll be playing less games, which means the good news for the Lewis family is that they can sell a few players and get players off the salary, and then hopefully De Zerbi attracts players that we want at the club. And obviously got the youngsters all coming back who we might like the look of in the summer, like Mikey Moore, Lancashire, all that lot, right? And then obviously people go on about Dorrington and Donley for about 3 weeks running, as they always do. And then we'll finish
scored
off
last night for Northern Ireland.
There we go. There's one of them. And then and what's his face? The greatest centre back in the Bundesliga, aged 18, who's going to come to Tottenham and win the Ballon d'Or next season.
Well, he'll be back next year.
Yeah, because he's the greatest. Because we don't overhype youngsters, to be clear.
No, he is a good player, Dave. He will improve that, mate. I know. Because I'm as cynical as you, Dave.
Here we go.
But he will improve that squad. Yeah, he's going to improve that squad. He can't be worse than Dragusin. He has got to be a far better footballer than Dragusin.
Okay, so the last time I checked the Ballon d'Or, the requirements for winning it wasn't on the list. Are you better than Dragusin?
Mate,
and then
that's you saying.
Here's the Ballon d'Or, right?
That's you saying that. Look, the sensible among us are just going, we've got a really promising young player on our hands here who can come in and improve that squad, undoubtedly. I think that's how we got to look at that, haven't we?
I look at it like that, but the way that, someone was on Twitter going, oh, Vuskovic scored against Reading.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head, mate. You just did it on Twitter.
Yeah, but it does my nutting that we overhype these youngsters. Yeah, Mikey Moore has probably had a better season, obviously, going to Rangers than sitting on the shit watching that this season for us, and probably not getting many starts. He's done one at Rangers. And sorry, the Scottish Premier League is not the greatest league in the world, right? So we overhype our youngsters. It does my head in, right?
Everybody, you're right, Dave, but everyone overhypes them. Rangers has been a good move for him. If he does move on again, hopefully he can go do a step up. He's only a young kid. If they don't feel that he can come in and have the impact for us, hopefully that is a good grounding at his age to perform how he's performed at Rangers.
Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, someone else overhyping him.
Boys, do you want to see De Zerbi's first 25-second interview, which is probably boring, but if you add it to the screen, Gibbo, I can play it.
Dave, I mean, this is like...
This is ridiculous.
Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Hello, all Tottenham fans. I'm very happy to stay here with you. For me, is a very honor and very proud to be your coach. I want to give my best. I want to stay for a long time in this big club. See you soon. Hello.
See you, Roberto. Right.
Well, I must fell asleep then.
Right. This is what's going to happen. He's going to keep us up. The fans will all be like, Roberto De Zerbi, he's kept us up and we're playing great football, blah, blah, blah. Then we'll go and sign Mason Greenwood. And then the shit lit the fan in the summer. How's that sound?
I'll tell you something, right? If he signs Mason Greenwood, I've already made my point. I don't want him to sign for us. But I do not. I will take a 3-week woke break from every form of social media. Right?
I'll tell you what, mate.
I did promise that we were going to get the chairman of the Tottenham Paper Mache Society on tonight to issue their statement about fucking Mason Greenwood. All right. Now the good news is the first home De Zerbi's first home game is against
Brighton,
and the teams that we've beaten at home this season are
Burnley and
Brentford.
Hey, not Bournemouth.
And guess who's going to the game?
You are, Dave.
I am. And what's my track record of seeing them live? Not very good.
There we go. Fernando Diniz will be Roberto De Zerbi's assistant.
Who is that?
Who's that?
I don't know.
Well, can I write that?
He goes to Google.
Let's just write, Dave. So you think we'll go down? I've always thought that we would go down after the West Ham defeat.
It's not a who's going down competition.
No, getting relegated. Right, I know you don't like the term going down, right?
No,
so
you said you don't like going down.
I do feel, and I'm a little bit more positive that we could stay up now. That we could stay in the Premier League. I'm not convinced. Obviously, I think the next 2 games for me, obviously, first 2 games he's in.
Can I just pause you there a minute? Because you said we were going to go down. We might stay down. We might not go down. I'm yet to be convinced. This is real shape-shifting stuff here.
So basically, as things were the way they were, I thought we were getting relegated. We've got De Zerbi in now, whether it's just a shot of enthusiasm from getting who I think is a decent manager in. I think we've got a chance now, more of a chance than we had before.
Go on.
But, I'm still not like bullish about it, is basically what I'm saying. So what I'm coming on to is, what are your 2 thoughts now? I think we pretty much know yours, Dave. So John, how were you feeling before that appointment, and what do you think now? If you had to be pushed on it, what are you saying?
I'm actually slightly more confident we might stay up. I think, but I'm also resigned to the fact we are going down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Long term, I'm happier because I was a bit worried. I have no problem with Poch coming back, but with America being the World Cup, it would have dragged on and dragged on.
Another summer,
and, yeah. And they wouldn't have been able to make that appointment until after it.
Call me Javiana.
Can I just read you a bit about this fella, Diniz? He's a Brazilian.
Please.
Diniz. He's Brazilian. Diniz is widely recognized in Brazil for his unique style of tactical structure, prioritizing ball control and having something close to modern style of Jogo Bonito, initially compared to Pep's tiki-taka style. He is currently working at Brighton, interestingly, having been manager at multiple clubs like Vasco da Gama and Santos and Sao Paulo and Fluminense. So he's obviously a very experienced guy. Now, whether that means Nesta's not coming back over, I don't know. But interesting that De Zerbi has got that link with another Brazilian. He doesn't look like he's been in Italy at all.
I thought he had like a trusted core of when I sort of looked earlier, I thought he had a core of trusted assistants and fitness coaches and all that type of thing that he'd bring with him. So I don't know, John, I haven't looked at any more, but does it look like he's sort of bringing in a new team with him? Or is it that just...
It just said that it will be announced in the coming days, I think. I think obviously Nesta was offered the job. Whether Nesta comes, I don't know.
Because we obviously we let Frank bring in fucking analysis, literally everybody from Brentford, didn't we? So we got rid of all that.
But I don't have a problem with that. I think
no, I don't have a problem with it, Dave. What I'm saying is has De Zerbi got the same? Does he want the same amount of people involved? Are we going to bring them in for him? We've gone all out for him, haven't we?
I'd like to see Johnny Heitinger back in. I'd like to see him back on the staff, and also the bloke who was going to work with Tudor, and we were sorting out his work permit. I presume
he's
that
next week.
He's assistant manager. Yeah.
Did he ever get to assist?
No,
because he didn't get.
No, that's why they brought Bruno Salter in, because he's supposedly staying, isn't he?
Yeah. Was he a Brighton player at one point?
He was a Brighton player under Chris Hughton. So when Chris Hughton was being linked, people were saying, "Oh, there's a link there as well."
But did he ever help De Zerbi at Brighton? Was he part of a coaching
No, I
staff
think
there?
he'd retired. Well, he may have done as a coach. I think he'd retired as a player. I'll have a...
So I've got a feeling I can remember him being on the coaching staff there because he'd been there for a long time, hadn't he, when he was playing? Was he sort of like a stalwart? But
coaching career.
I mean, this is great stuff, John. We've had nearly 100 people watching tonight.
He followed Potter to Chelsea from Brighton, so he actually left Brighton when De Zerbi came in.
Yeah,
Denise. I'd like Denise to be in because of the great song.
Yeah,
and obviously this week the news that we've all been waiting for is that Daniel Levy might be suing the Lewis family and then getting more shares, and that means he can take the club over. So then he'll be back like Ari Gold.
Your mate Simon Jordan shut that down today by saying that he spoke to Daniel last night, and it's definitely a complete made-up story. So yeah, not going to happen apparently.
Dave, why don't you phone up tomorrow and ask Simon his thoughts on?
Doesn't work Fridays,
you've
mate.
You've got a direct line to Simon. Haven't you got? It's Thursday. Well, it's Thursday for us.
It's Thursday tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's Wednesday tomorrow.
It's Thursday now.
No.
Bung him a text.
In the UK, Simon Jordan's working tomorrow in the UK in 12 hours time, Dave. So you're tonight.
I'm out tonight.
So. Are you? Where you going?
I'm going to get drunk, to be honest.
Did you get this approved by the committee?
What, by the Tottenham Paper Mache Society? No, I did not. Now we got to finish off in a minute, and so there's something here, a bit of housekeeping here. Living room change up, Dave. Something that's different. Well, thank you, Phil. I've had that lamp in the corner for weeks now, and Gibbo's not even noticed. How rude's that?
Oh, Dave, I haven't got my glasses on, mate. I can barely see the comments, mate. So I can just about see that, John.
Yeah.
Look, we had 90 people watching, which is fucking nosebleed territory for us. Yeah. So if you could, as we never asked to, smash the like. I mean, John, by the way, last week we got our first ever super chat. So if you know where that $5 ends up in some account somewhere.
I have just gone and monetized the last 10 shows, including tonight, for you. So
I was just about to say, John, we'll have 90 people, the most we've ever had watching live.
This is the most we've ever had.
And then someone will go, yeah, but you haven't monetized it, have you? And we'll miss out on that like 12p, whatever it is. But you know, it all helps, doesn't it? It helps, like the technology. Dave do his slides and stuff like that. It makes it all worth it.
Yeah, because that costs a lot of money.
You know who should blame at all times. There's only one man to blame.
Levy.
Caller, obviously. It's got to be Caller's problem. It's always his fault.
It's always Levy's fault on this show, mate.
It's always Levy's fault, mate.
Donna Cullen's son.
Cullen's son. Associated party transactions, yeah? I'm looking forward to the rundown, Dave, of the accounts.
So, last question. Dave, are we getting relegated?
That is such a... No. I've changed my mind.
So you're flip-flopping now?
Yeah, fuck it. Why not?
Sean Butler does have a great little video for that. It's quite good. I might ask him if I can borrow it.
John?
Yeah.
What are we doing then, mate?
Oh...
It's
My
tough,
head
isn't it?
says
It's
we
really
are, my
tough.
heart
It's
says no.
really, it's tough.
It is
I
really,
feel
really
it.
hard. Can
Yeah.
someone go and injure like Jared Bowen, and then I'll be really confident that we'd stay up?
I mean, I'm
Someone go
worried
kneecap
that
him.
I'm in England for 2 games, and I'm in England for Wolves, which is of course your bugbear, John. About it'll be a 3 p.m. kickoff and no one can watch it. And I always used to laugh at you and go, "Well, I could watch it in Australia," but I'll be in England for that. And then I am going to the Brighton game. The last time I've seen Tottenham win live in the flesh was, I got a feeling it was under Conte, Leeds 2-1. So
Mate,
I remember that.
that could bugger us.
I think Wolves will be switch. Have they got time to switch Wolves to television now, John? Because they switched Leeds, haven't they?
No.
I thought that every Spurs game now, the last 7 games will all be on. Sky will be wanting a direct access to the Tottenham Hotspur relegation, which will, if it happens, will be arguably the biggest story in Premier League history
Ever.
Well, Vim Fuego 14 says no. We'll win 5 matches. I'll go with you, Vim. Happy
Vim,
days, mate.
That's it. You are the man. I'll take 4. I'll tell you what would be great. Like all the shit I mean, there's been so much negativity really around this appointment.
On this, on this program, though.
Not on this program. We've been as positive as we've ever been, I think, on this program. Do you know what would be fucking brilliant? Everybody says that we'll go to Chelsea and get relegated. Can you imagine if we actually went to Chelsea, beat them there to stay up?
That would.
I mean, they're not happy with their manager at all.
No.
Oh God, he's the Andy Bakers on Talksport is hilarious.
But he's the worst.
LinkedIn Liam. He sounds like a LinkedIn. He is a LinkedIn manager. Honestly, he is. I listen to him and I close my eyes and I think to myself, I could be at work here. It is LinkedIn Liam.
And we've got to be happier with the appointment we've made than they've made with that, surely. Who, if like for all the outrage around De Zerbi and however beige fucking Mazzina is, who would you rather have as manager of our club?
De Zerbi.
I mean, he won't be here in 2 years' time, but then we're a senior.
So. We will be, but who cares?
Will be. And earlier, he's got a 5-year contract. I know you got to go, Dave. I'll just say
I have got to go.
I think I listened on something. They said I reckon there's a handful of managers who have done 5 years. Pep, Fergie, Wenger.
Lads.
Yeah. Oh, we are. Dave, this show is finally taking off.
$2.
£7. Is it dollars?
$2. Love you long time.
2 weeks.
£7 in 2 weeks. Does he not ask a question?
No. You got a question with Spurs TV?
Yeah. If not, come back next week.
And we'll go. Dave can't go to work until the question is asked.
Pochettino was one of them. I think there's only 5 or 6 managers that have ever, done over 5 years.
In the Premier League or for us?
The average is something like 18 months to 2 years, isn't it?
Full stop. I mean,
the
general.
You mean for us? You mean for us?
No, I'm talking about Premier. It's in the Premier League, obviously, but I think since the Premier League has been going, there's only a handful of managers who have done 5 years plus.
What, for any club?
Yeah, not just for us.
Obviously Wenger and Arteta for Arsenal, Fergie,
Frank de Boer at Palace.
Yeah,
as
Sam Allardyce at Leeds. So I don't think there's loads and loads. So like the average, like we're saying, it ain't gonna last 5 years.
Most managers last 5 years.
Most managers last what? 18 months, 3 years.
Jimmy Riddle, we just played it.
Yeah, good old Jimmy Riddle. Talking of Jimmy Riddle.
And if John hadn't been here, we wouldn't have played it.
Everyone,
we got to go.
Hour and 11 minutes. Great comments, great interaction. Thanks for tuning in. John, thanks for joining us and getting our numbers up, mate.
It's like the old days, boys. I like the old days.
Yeah.
And guess what I'm doing tomorrow morning?
Less people watching.
I'm going for a coffee tomorrow morning with somebody staying at Butlins, a lad called Craig that we all know well.
Ah.
At Butlins?
He's at Bognor Butlins, just down the road.
On the Stagger?
No, I think he's with the missus and maybe his daughter. I don't know.
It's family holidays. Well, John, you got to come back on because you have properly upped the game here. You have set the bar.
I'll have 10 people if I come on next time. But
No.
If you want to see
No.
10 people watch next week when it's just me and Dave.
oh, Danny Kiriakou has gone in with a super chat. Danny's bored. He's on his balcony doing work apparently, so sending us super chats. Didn't have time for a question.
Cheers, Danny.
Cheers, mate. I do have to change out of my Oasis shirt and go to work. I can't go to work in an Oasis shirt.
As always,
cheers, boys. Thanks for having me.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.